Hello everybody, and welcome to today's first UFI webinar on sustainability. I am Christian Druard, Secretary of the UFI Sustainable Development Committee, and I will be joined later by Eloise Sochanik, Project Manager at Positive Impact. Positive Impact is a non-for-profit organization providing sustainability education to the events industry. And UFI has partnered with Positive Impact to develop an online course available to organizations of all sizes that Eloise will later detail for you. Before we start the presentation, I have to give you a little explanation regarding the system. You need first to download the presentation that we will go through. You can find it under File Sharing on the left side of your screen, and you need to double-click to open it. Please do this now, and the uploading can take up to 30 seconds. You will then have to scroll through the presentation yourself according to my or Eloise's guidance. I'm going to start with the page number 1. So welcome again, all of you. We are expecting participants from, in fact, all regions of the world. So this should be an interesting presentation. And the agenda is shown on this page. I will start with some elements of context before handing over to Eloise, who will give you some insight into the 8 steps to sustainability. You will then have the opportunity, or we will answer the questions that you will have asked in the meantime. And I will finally conclude this our webinar. So, element of context. Let's move to slide number 2. Most of you are probably familiar with all this, so we'll go rather quickly. What is sustainable development? It's a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This is the agreed definition, which was produced a while ago by the Brundtland Commission of the United Nations. And it's especially important to understand the diagram, which shows the 3 pillars of sustainability: social, environment, and economic. And if you only meet 2 of these, you can't claim for sustainability. If you, for instance, handle social and economic aspects, you're only equitable. If you handle social and environment, you're only bearable. If you handle economic and environmental, you're viable. Sustainability is about handling the 3 together. I now move to slide number 3. Sustainability issues are increasingly affecting business. There is indeed a rising awareness by the different stakeholders of our industry, whether they are investment analysts. We see more and more funds which claim to be sustainable, so there are customers behind those. Governments are also involved, usually for environmental and social reasons, also sometimes for economical reasons, as there is potential for growth, economic growth through green industry. Employees and potential employees, more and more staff is now interested in the social values of companies before joining in or staying in a company. And obviously clients in our industry, some call for tenders are sometimes go with sustainability elements. So government are also actively pursuing initiatives to manage environmental issues, and that can be to control emissions or to encourage reporting, for instance. So the consultancy company McKinsey was saying, as a result of a global survey about sustainability in 2011, that the choice for companies was not if, but how they should manage their sustainability activities. Um, at the same time, and this picture is taken from a presentation we had at our first focus meeting on sustainability at UFI, and that was in 2009. It was presented by a representative from United Nations who was explaining that whereas a few years ago um, nobody really knew how all the frameworks could work together, um, things were getting in place. And we'll see in the next slide that this is especially true for the exhibition or the event altogether industry. We also have to take into account the fact that the next step will probably be integrated reporting. What is integrated reporting? It means that annual reports will also have to cover environmental and social aspects. So this is a serious question. I now move to slide number 5. As I was saying earlier, the event industry now has its frameworks. This image is taken from a presentation done by Piers Kelly from Reed Exhibitions during our second focus meeting. And it was showing how the ISO 2012 one framework, which relates to management system and which was created originally from the BS 8901 British standard, is in fact very well linked to the GRI framework. GRI is a global reporting initiative. So the ISO 2012 one is about a management system. So that's how you operate your operations, whereas the GRI is a framework for reporting, which is how do you report and how do you communicate on what you are being doing. So UFI does promote these two international frameworks. And we have developed the UFI course that Eloise will detail later about the ISO part. And as far as the GRI is concerned, because the approach can prove to be quite difficult for people when they start sustainability, we are developing a template which we'll be releasing next month, which should help companies from the exhibition industry to report on sustainability or to start reporting on sustainability. I now move to slide number 6 to give you a bit our view on exhibitions and sustainability, generally speaking. We believe that exhibitions are in fact a sustainable way of doing business. Why? Because they contribute to economic and social developments. Economic, well, that's a primary reason of people attending exhibitions. It's to do business directly or indirectly for the participants. Exhibitions also have an impact on the territories where they are held, so there are local benefits thanks to exhibitions too. The social aspects is covered thanks to the education side of exhibitions, the sharing of knowledge, the face-to-face aspect of exhibitions. And in terms of environment, of course, coming to an exhibition as leaves its footprint, and especially if you come from far by plane. But and this is the main component, in fact, of the footprint of an exhibition when you look at it all together. But we'll see in the next slide that, in fact, exhibitions reduce the footprint that you would have that you would be spending if you were not going to an exhibition. In addition, many companies are very active in reducing all the other components of the carbon footprint that they control and which is related to local transport or the event itself. So I now move to slide number 7. This image is taken from a presentation by Jochen Witt Consulting, and it shows the theoretical case where you have on the left side 4 suppliers who want to meet 3 potential customers. Without an exhibition, if each of them want to meet, it's 12 journeys. Thanks to the exhibition, the unity of place and time, it's 7 journeys instead. So theoretically, when you apply this to 100 exhibitors and 50 visitors, you save 4,850 journeys. We have made calculations, practical calculations, considering that, of course, not all exhibitors meet all visitors. And even when you apply a ratio, the exhibition is obviously very beneficial in that respect. If I move now to slide number 8, as I was saying earlier, many companies are very active in that field, and whether it's solar panels, whether it's using local food, recycling, etc. We also have examples of serious organizers who measure that footprint in order to try to reduce it, and they manage to reach a very low footprint of 17 kilo of CO2 per square meters of rented space. So obviously that's not a goal that anyone can achieve. If you're an air show, for instance, it's going to be much more difficult, and you'll still be sustainable in other areas. But this shows the scale of what that can be reached in some cases. I now move to slide number 9. As far as UFI is concerned, we are trying to promote best practices because not one case is similar to another. And so we are collecting best practices, and all these are available on our website at the address that you can read at the top. So we started our first award last year with a very broad scope, which was Best Sustainable Development Strategy, and Amsterdam Rai did win that competition. This year we've had 2 competitions, one on the right, which is Best Reporting, and we've already selected the winner of this theme. It's the Cape Town International Convention Center. The finalist was La Rural in Argentina, and you can find both their files on our website. We're still in the process of selecting the winner of the award on the other theme, which was Best and Innovative Environmental Initiative. We selected 9 best practices, and their entries are also available on the website. And 4 of them are now competing for the final, and we should be able to communicate on the results in a few weeks. I now move to slide number 10 to also mention that will be later detailed by Eloise, that we have produced this course, which is an excellent introduction to develop a sustainable strategy. It represents also obviously a good approach for anyone who wants to later implement ISO 2012-1, and you do find here the address of the course and my email for further if you need any further information. Okay, so I'm now going to hand over to Eloise, and I will conclude this webinar.
Good afternoon, everyone. We will begin on slide 11 with an introduction to positive impact and who we are. So our vision is the creation of a sustainable events industry, and we've been working with a number of partners throughout the exhibitions and events industry since our creation in 2004 in order to achieve that aim. And just looking through to slide 12, Positive Impact is one of a group of companies. We're actually a not-for-profit, so the creation of our materials and the development of our work is everything is reinvested into the company. We work created in 2004 after our managing director, Fiona Pelham, had set up an event organising company, Organise This, and her objective was to create and run events in a sustainably responsible way. And this was before sustainability really was a buzzword within the industry, and Positive Impact was shortly after created to provide education and training in the industry in order to facilitate Fiona's vision. She very quickly realised that there was not enough material, enough awareness around sustainability. We also have our sister company, Sustainable Events Limited, and our online tool, Event Sustainability, which can assist with the implementation of sustainable strategies. Moving on to slide 13, again, just to give you a bit of a history and context to who Positive Impact are. We've created a number of materials and worked with a number of partners throughout the exhibitions, sport, business and culture events industry. And we also have regular features such as the CMIT magazine, Students' Half Tip of the Week, features in our publications such as Exhibition World and Exhibition News. And on our website, you can find a number of resources, case studies, and various materials and guides, and also a number of online courses. Moving on to slide 14, our partnership with UFI has been in place for about 12 months now, and it was through that partnership that we've developed this online course, 8 Steps to Sustainability, using the knowledge that Positive Impact have around sustainability within the events industry, and the partnering with UFI as their provider of that information around sustainability, specifically within exhibitions. So Christian has obviously given us a very good introduction and shown us some very good examples of context. And we're going to move on now to slide 15 and start thinking about not just how we define sustainability, how we understand what sustainability is, but how we can actually start implementing sustainability within our business. The diagram on slide 15 very much demonstrates the crux of the definition of sustainability is that it's an equal combination of social issues, environmental issues and economic issues. And that's what we talk about when we're talking about sustainability within the exhibitions industry. Some examples of social issues are represented on slide 16, and Christian again in the introduction has touched upon this. Things like health and safety within our exhibitions, things like accessibility within our venues, knowledge, awareness and training of our employees in their specialist areas and also within the area of sustainability is very key. And obviously there are other elements of diversity and inclusion that should always be taken into account when we're putting on an event. Practical examples of this might include signage, for example. Have all of our international guests been taken into account when we're putting signs up around our venue? Is it easier to use logos and symbols that are readily internationally understood for things such as disabled access and awareness of where water can be found? Then these types of considerations can mean that our event as a whole is a more sustainable one. Moving on to slide 17, the environmental issues when thinking about exhibitions and sustainability are the ones that are more obvious. So especially in large venues, understanding what the energy consumption is, understanding what the carbon footprint per stand is, understanding what our impacts on the environment are in travelling to be at an international exhibition. Again, there are a number of practical examples of best practice case studies, things that we can be doing that really make a difference to our environmental impact. And as Christian has highlighted, a lot of these case studies and resources are available through UFI and through the Sustainable Development Awards. So it may include venues who have installed solar panels. It may include exhibitors who use recycled materials for their stands. It may include initiatives that support the recycling of carpets and the waste management generally for an event that have been considered and taken into account in a responsible way. Again, moving on to slide 18, what Christian had touched upon in the beginning around context is very much that exhibitions have a unique opportunity to be contributing economically in a very sustainable way. And again, thinking about the definition of sustainability and the crux of what we mean when we talk about a holistic approach, including environmental, economic and social initiatives, there are integrated economic benefits to understanding sustainability and implementing a sustainable strategy. For example, if we do look at initiatives such as recycling carpets or saving energy by introducing more efficient lighting systems, then we are in a unique position to be saving on our expenses and also potentially using sustainability as a unique selling point in order to be driving more attendees to our exhibitions and driving more exhibitors to be taking up stand space. We move on to slide 19. Again, Christian has highlighted a bit of an introduction to ISO 2012-1, and the image in the bottom right of this slide just shows our Managing Director, Fiona, and I just wanted to give a bit of a background to how ISO 2012-1 came into being. The World Cup bid for 2018, the FIFA bid, was run in a very sustainably responsible manner, and in its authoring there was an awareness and an understanding that there was no management system for such an event around sustainability, and it was through this catalyst and then also through the London 2012 Games that the development of the British standard BS 8901 came into being, and Fiona was the voluntary chair for this. And the British standard was adopted internationally and very quickly transitioned to the international standard ISO 2012-1. As Christian has emphasised, it's a management system, so it's very much around your approach, your planning phase, the implementation of sustainability, and your review phase. So you're continually improving on your processes and how you refer to sustainability within your business and within your exhibition. Just to touch on the reporting aspect as well on slide 20, the Global Reporting Initiative is a framework for reporting, and here is an example of the Sustainable Events Limited GRI report. Again, this reporting is very much catalysed by particular events. So the COP15 in Copenhagen was one of the first GRI reports for an event that was published. And there is also the Event Organiser Sector Supplement, which London 2012 were the first to employ in their reporting for the events. The reason that we've sort of spoken about these frameworks and sort of giving you a bit more of a background and detail around them, is not to say that this is the only way for you to start approaching sustainability within your business. These are tools that are available to you to support in the development of your strategy. However, having a strategy and starting to look at sustainability is the most important sort of first step. So having a sustainability report, whether or not it aligns with GRI, is the most important first step. Having a management system that is under a process of continual improvement, that you are continuously thinking about the sustainability credentials of your events and how they could be improved, is the most important element of that. So we're just looking at slide 21, which just kind of summarises what these tools and frameworks are able to achieve. And it doesn't necessarily mean that whilst Positive Impact and UFI promote and prioritise ISO 20001 and GRI event organisation supplement, a sustainable approach means integrating decisions into your business. So moving on to slide 22, we're going to talk in a bit more detail around the UFI course, 8 Steps to Sustainability. And everything within the UFI course is underpinned by the steps and processes that are within ISO 20001 and GRI reporting. However, this is very much a first step towards implementing sustainability, and it provides a number of practical examples for how to start on your sustainability journey to having a sustainable strategy. And as I said, UFI have a wealth of case studies and resources from best practice within the industry, and there are lots of good learning examples within the course, and the greatest opportunity that it provides is that of educating your employees. So starting everybody with an equal understanding of what sustainability is, how it operates, and what you can be doing to implement it within your own organisation. So moving on to slide 23, here we have outlined the 8 steps to sustainability as they occur within the course. So we start with an introduction to sustainability, which is very much the type of content that has been covered in this presentation. We then look at how to start. So what are the first steps that you can practically take to get you on your sustainability journey? Then in the planning phase, step 3, thinking about what needs to happen, what resources are available within your business, who will be responsible, what roles need to be created in order to start thinking around sustainability, or where there could be resources that already exist within your organisation. Issue focus in step 4 is a really key one, and one that's very much taken from the ISO 20001 process of implementation. It's, as we covered in the earlier slides, thinking about our social, economic and environmental issues is key to starting on our strategy and understanding what it is that we need to start thinking about, and focusing in on those issues that are most relevant to us and our organisation is a really key starting point. I'm sure that everyone's aware of greenwashing and the risk associated with any implementation of a strategy that is not very well thought through and supported. And by focusing on our correct issues, we can avoid any kind of risk or any kind of reputational concerns, because we're not saying we've got 10 issues and we're going to start with the least important. We're saying we've got 10 issues and we're going to identify which of these is the most relevant to our business, to our exhibition, and we're going to start dealing with them. Section 5, preparing, again, we're looking a bit more detail here around actually getting started. So now that we have our issues, how do we turn those into objectives? How do we put those together into a strategy that we can start communicating internally and start implementing? In section 6, we talk about that implementation and what are the practical measures that we can take to have sustainability work for us in our organisation and within our exhibition. Monitoring and reviewing is, as we've discussed, a very key element of any continual process of improvement for our sustainability strategy. So tracking our energy consumption, tracking our sustainability spend, tracking our social initiatives and trying to quantify what improvements have been made. And then finally, we talk in step 8 about promoting sustainability. And this is sometimes where a number of businesses fall short. Sorry, we're on slide 23 at the moment, just talking through each of the 8 steps and what's covered on the course. So promoting sustainability is very much about how we communicate our actions, and this is an area that sometimes is missed out in our sustainability strategy, is that we implement a number of initiatives and then forget to talk about it. And that's the really key element that we can then see sort of benefits that we're driving from our actions. So moving on to slide 24, this gives you a screenshot of the course itself and an idea of the type of language that's used, the layout and format. So this is an introduction to the course, and the modules throughout follow the same kind of structure. Moving on to slide 25, this gives us an understanding of each of the modules and how they are structured. So module 1, our introduction to sustainability, comprises an overview, the content of the module, the next steps that we can take, as well as having the text content for the module. You also have audio recording and video recording, if that's an easier way for you to listen and learn. Then there are a number of resources, and finally a quiz. So for each module, the course is structured in the same way, and you are then able to take a quiz at the end of that module and test your knowledge before moving on to the next stage. And so there are 8 modules in total, each with this structure and each with a quiz at the end. Moving on to page 26, there you can see what this looks like in practice for module 1. So again, you get an idea here of the content and the language that we're using. So as I said, the introduction to sustainability very much mimics the content of this presentation, thinking about sustainability as a balance of economic, social and environmental factors, focusing in on the key benefits and giving you some context around why sustainability is important within the exhibitions industry. Moving on to slide 27, this gives you an idea of the kind of resources that are available at the end of each module. So for module 2, here are some resources that have been made available by UFI and by the participants within the Sustainable Development Award Scheme that give you an idea of what the actions they have taken to start implementing sustainability. As I've said, the course itself very much follows the structure of ISO 2012-1 and GRI event organizer supplements. For the purposes of resources and case studies within each of the modules, obviously these exhibitors and venues and organisers operating within the industry haven't all undertaken those frameworks. They may use different frameworks and different internationally recognised certifications. However, these are practical examples to give you an idea of what you could be doing at this stage in the process. So these are examples for Module 2, which is how to start, and this can give you some examples around green initiatives, experiences and activities, and again, all the resources have been categorised for whether you are a venue or whether you are an organiser itself. Hopefully that gives you a good understanding of how the course is structured and the type of content that's included. We can look in more detail if anybody has any specific questions when we come to the questions at the end. Moving on to page 28, just to touch briefly on the benefits of undertaking the course. Obviously, it's an opportunity to show leadership. This is a unique educational content that's been provided by this course, and going through this process is an opportunity to demonstrate leadership within the exhibitions industry and also as an EFI member. The bottom left image signifies certification, and whether or not you decided to go for ISO 20121 or if there was a local scheme or initiative that you were interested in, this course can give you a really good first step to implementing your strategy and therefore working towards certification. The bottom right, by understanding sustainability, by implementing the strategy, we're starting to deliver cost savings for ourselves within our organisation by having a better understanding of where we can be saving on materials, for example, or on other types of initiatives. And it's also an opportunity to demonstrate a unique selling point within the industry. So to say that you have undertaken this course, that members of your organisation have undertaken this course, is a really good opportunity to demonstrate exactly the actions that you've taken. Moving on to slide 29, our recommendations for using the course are very specific but very easy to understand. By using an online course of this kind, you have the opportunity to learn in your own time. So whether it's somebody who is a sustainability champion within your organisation who wants to undertake some education additional to their job role, then it's a great opportunity to be able to learn as and when you decide. You can dip in and out of the online course, picking up on different modules at different times. We would also recommend multiple users. It's a great way to align internationally so that a number of people within your organisation can have the same level of understanding around sustainability and the same starting point when looking at your strategy and beginning to implement a management system, a framework for sustainability, or looking in more detail at your reporting. As I said, it's also a great way to start promoting your actions. So to be able to concretely say, we have undertaken the EFI education on sustainability, 8 steps of sustainability, and this is how we can demonstrate that we've started to think about it within our organisation. So then just on slide 30, you can see there we've got some details around registration for the course. So we have the web link there that you can go and take a look at it, and some details here on the pricing. So it's £150 for all 8 modules for EFI members and EFI Association members, which translates to around €170 and $240. The course is also available to non-EFI members, but at a slightly higher price. So you can see that as an EFI member, you're getting a unique opportunity to take part in this course and to receive this kind of education at a heavily discounted rate. And then another bonus, all registrants to this webinar will be automatically entered into a prize draw to receive 1 free access to the course, so that you can try it, see how you feel about it, and then once you've seen it in more detail, we can talk about other opportunities within the organisation. And as Christian mentioned at the beginning, you can contact him on his email address if you have any more specific questions or if you are interested in signing up for the course. So finally, we're on page 31. Does anybody have any questions? If you can type them if you have any questions, then they'll come up on my screen and I can respond to them from here. Maybe a little delay if anybody types in their question. I suppose one of the questions that quite often comes up is very much around who this is relevant for, who this course is useful for, and the answer to that is very much anybody within the organisation. As we touched upon, it's relevant to everybody within the exhibitions industry, the information in the content and the understanding around starting your sustainability strategy is relevant for exhibitors, for organisers, for venues themselves. It can be very much the sustainability champion within the organisation who would undertake the course. As I said, it's also a great way to engage people around sustainability, because so much around the context of sustainability, what it actually is and how it works, is covered. If there are volunteers within the organisation or the actual ground staff, people who are working at the exhibition itself, it's a great way to engage them, to have them go through this course themselves. And again, that's another good training opportunity, a good social initiative, and a good way to engage around sustainability and communicate what it is that you're doing. It doesn't seem as though anybody has any questions just now. As we've said, if you need to ask anything in any more detail and you want to do so offline, you can contact Christian on the email address provided, chris@UFI. So thank you very much for your time, everyone, and I will now hand back to Christian, who is just going to round off and conclude and give us some more details around the next webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eloise. And so I'm going indeed to conclude this webinar with a few more slides on future UFI actions. We're having another webinar in a bit more than a month's time, which this time we dedicate on reporting. If I move to slide number 33, we're also currently preparing another focus meeting, which is a day conference on sustainability. This is open to all, whether UFI or non-UFI members, and it will be held at Palexpo in Geneva on the 12th of December 2013, with a dinner, a networking dinner the day before. This follows another series of focus meetings that you can see listed on that slide too. If I move to slide number 34, this is again our web address and the email to contact me for any questions. And the final slide is the detail of Eloise. So thank you very much. Thank you, Eloise. Thank you very much to all of you who saw this webinar live or who will download it later on the platform. And I now leave you and hope to see you soon or be in touch with you very quickly. Thank you. Bye-bye.